Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Pain Free Comeback channel. I'm here with another really inspiring recovery story, this time joined by Lisa. And Lisa, thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here and share what's happened to me with anyone else who will listen.
Yeah, it's I love synchronicities, and we were talking earlier how we worked together about a year ago, and I was kind of thinking one day, I was like, I wonder how Lisa's doing with her running, and all of a sudden I just get this text out of the blue from you about how great things are going, essentially. So I'm glad that we were able to meet up here and record this and share your story with people.
I'm happy about it too.
Yeah. So for those of you who are being introduced to Lisa, she is a runner, a very avid runner, and she was also diagnosed with grade 4 osteoarthritis in her knee. And she was told by a doctor that she wasn't able to run downhill. She couldn't run on back-to-back days. She was told she couldn't run more than 5 miles at a time. And since we kind of went through this process and she learned about the way that her mind can create symptoms. She's been stretching out her mileage. She's, I think you said, doubling and tripling the amount of
Mm-hmm.
volume that you're running on back-to-back days, and has a really inspiring story to share. So let's dive into it, Lisa. So take us through rewinding the clock back to before you went through the whole medical journey of searching for answers for your knee. What was exercise like for you? What kind of running were you doing?
So for many years, and this is going back, gosh, 20 years, um, started out just, running 5 and 10 days, but then realized as I did longer distances and ran my first marathon that if I worked at it, actually was pretty good. And I'm not a naturally gifted athlete by any means, and I also really liked it. I liked putting in the training. I liked the long hours on the road. And for me to do well at those longer distances, it really required high mileage weeks for me. That definitely is what allowed me to get faster and stronger as a runner and hit, as a master's runner, that 3 hour marathon mark, which was a, huge accomplishment for me. And I did that for many years. And then I was getting ready for a race, and all of a sudden, my left knee just swelled up like a grapefruit out of the blue. No injury, it just swelled up. And so I went to a sports medicine doctor, and he diagnosed me with arthritis under my kneecap. And I was so insulted because, I was so fit and doing everything right. And I'm like, how can I have arthritis in my knee when I'm only 40 something years old? But that indeed was the case. And that became then, the message was, well, now you can't run marathons, you can't run any long distances, you can't run back to back days, hard surfaces, downhill. It was all the don'ts. Also, I started getting cortisone injections in my knee, and then hyaluronic acid gel injections in my knee. And I did that for years. And the swelling would come and go. And frankly, pretty devastated about that, because for me, running was a big part now of my identity and just something I loved to do. I did try and take some control over the situation by, researching what can I do to decrease inflammation in my body in general. So, I went really hard on turmeric and fish oil, which I still do,
Mm,
making sure I was, eating a primarily plant-based anti-inflammatory diet. So no, extra sugar or processed foods, just trying to take control in that way, which definitely helped, but still very fearful around running. And would experience pain, like I'll just call it flare ups, and
Mm.
without any ability to really associate it with anything. So,
It's pretty remarkable just that this came up out of the blue, and it
mhm,
was, you said it was right before a race that you were training for.
mhm,
That's something that we see quite a bit, right? Of athletes leading up to competitions get these symptoms out of the blue. Um, and I can imagine how devastating that was, just given like you're literally in the zone preparing to do this race, and then all of a sudden you're told, actually, you shouldn't do this or do any other competitions or activities like it.
exactly.
And
It
so
was
many, yeah, go
it
ahead.
was it was very hard to take.
Yeah. So I can understand the anger that you would have had about that. And how long, like, did you end up getting a second opinion after that, or did you, like, what was your mindset in addition to trying to take back control with like turmeric and fish oil? Like, what was your mindset toward running after that?
Now, I really believed this doctor because he was a sports medicine doctor, not just an orthopedic doctor.
Mhm.
And because of, all the other people that I knew he was taking care of, many of them professional athletes, I just am like, well, he must know. And so I'm just going to, go with what he's telling me, um, and and do all the injections, which I did for years, by the way, uh,
Mm.
and and really dialed back running. So, at the same time, though, too, I was going through, I'm sure this is connected now that we're talking about it. So I was preparing for that race, but at the same time, had separated from my husband. So there was a whole lot of internal stuff happening. I obviously didn't put the two, my knee and that together, but that was also going on.
Right. And that's, when we're being treated for something physical, like these aren't the questions that are usually asked in the medical
No,
world.
not at all.
Like, and it's so interesting. We were talking before this about the relationships, right, between medical provider and patient and positive outcomes. And so, um, I wonder what might have been different had, somebody asked you like, "Hey, Lisa, what else is going on in your
Yeah,
life?"
are you okay?
Yeah, are you okay?
Right.
So how many years did this go on for, of seeing this doctor, getting these injections, before you came across this work?
So that went on up until, gosh, like 4 years ago. And then I just decided I'm just not going to do these injections anymore. I wasn't having, and as I stayed off of them and stayed on the turmeric and fish oil and all the other anti-inflammatories that I could take, by the way, not Advil or ibuprofen. I don't,
Yeah.
obviously I'm not going to live on that. Um, so I realized, I'm not having the swelling, and I started doing my own research into what does impact, like running really does it make arthritis worsen more quickly. And in fact, what I started reading was the fluid and the I'll call it the inflammation, the good inflammation that one has when you're having pounding on joints. It's actually good. There's good fluid that goes to the joint. So I just decided I'm going to start to run a little bit more and see what happens. And because I couldn't find any good science that said, oh, yes, if you keep running, you will deteriorate that joint faster and
Mhm.
cause more problems. I couldn't find anything that said that directly.
Mm,
So I moved away from the medical stuff to let's just start to take more control back over it and see what happens.
yeah, right. And I think it's important to call out too. It's like you work in the medical world. Like you have a deep
I
uh,
do.
reverence and trust, and you see on a daily basis, like the amazing things that the medical system can do.
For sure.
And, when it comes to chronic pain, and the sense that I get from you is the agency that was taken away, right? The agency that's taken away from not just your outlets of something that you love to do, but also it's part of your identity. And that's the sense that I got, is that you weren't willing to just kind of roll over and say, this part of my life is over.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not, as you mentioned, I mean, I'm a nurse, so I'm fully into, the
Right.
medicine, and I believe in traditional medicine and alternative medicine. But I think especially with conditions like arthritis and as me getting older, there's just sort of this sense of kind of being written off, like this is just what happens. You just have to accept it and deal with it, and it's part of getting older. And I'm not expecting to be pain free. I just want to make sure I'm not causing more harm to myself. And that is what the fear was, is am I causing harm?
Right.
And by the way, as you know, until we worked together, I had not connected at all the emotional part of my life with what was going on in the physical part. So I hadn't gotten there yet, Alec, until we worked together.
You were building up to it.
Yes.
Yeah. It's interesting what you mentioned, like the studies, not being able to find a study that showed that you were doing more damage to this joint. I was recording a few videos the other day for the Pain Free Comeback program, and did some research on spinal discs. And, me being somebody who had back pain, there were all these studies that showed that actually running is helpful for spinal disc health. Like I've had a lot of runners who've come to me and said, like, oh, I'm wearing down my spine as a result of running. And, here there's like study after study that shows actually your discs are healthier. There's more mobility, there's more fluids and good things that are happening. And both runners who are running for the first time, as well as long-time runners. So I think it calls into question like that whole idea of, well, I'm just getting older, it's wear and tear. And like, actually, if we look into some of the science, a lot of that isn't actually true.
It's true. Yes, because how else would you explain the days that I actually do run? My whole body feels better, including my spine and back, like all the little aches and pains. I don't even have them. So it's the days I don't run that I have those things. So
yeah. And we're meant to move, right? And I think one of the most challenging things for athletes, especially who have some sort of chronic pain, is if you're told, hey, you need to restrict your movement. And not only do you have this belief like I'm doing more damage, but also like movement is like the most healthy thing that we can do as humans. Like our bodies are meant to move. When you get a hip replacement, they tell you to walk on it the same day. And so I think it can be a vicious cycle from the place of, trying to do good and helping people, but ultimately leading to a place of sometimes more harm.
I agree.
So, okay, we've gotten to this point where you've had this diagnosis, you're not willing to accept that your running days are over, and you stop doing these injections. What happened next? Like when, and what led us to coming in contact and getting into this work?
So Ben, who is our CEO and also, a friend and he's obviously a major athlete. We would commiserate on our issues. He was having, issues with cramping when he was running. And I'm like, yeah, and I just can't, I'm so worried about my knee. And sometimes it really hurts when I run. And then I feel like I lose some range of motion in it. And then other days I just felt really like I wasn't sure how to proceed, and it was negatively impacting me. And I would try other things, and I go to the gym and do yoga and all of that, but I just wanted to run. And so Ben connected me with you because the two of you had worked together, and he felt like you had made such a big difference in his athletic life. And so that was how you and I started working together. And wow, it unlocked so much for me.
Say a little bit more about that, because I remember I think it was our very first session that we had together, where you were like, you got the concept so quickly. Like some people, it takes a little while, but like for everything with you, like it landed.
Well, and I think maybe because, I had wanted to move away from the medical stuff, just knowing as I started reading, as I already mentioned, I couldn't find anything that to directly say, if you do this, this will happen and it will get worse and you are hurting yourself. And so just by doing my own research, I just felt open to, there has to be another reason why we experience pain. And especially chronic pain, not new not pain after a surgery, but something that comes and goes. And why do we feel it on some days and not on others? That doesn't make sense to me. Why would we feel more pain because of the weather? Like that doesn't make any sense to me either. And
Right.
so I was just open to, there has to be another thing. And also, I am a person that definitely believes that your mind and body are connected. I feel like I know a lot of people where there's like a line here and there's this part of their life and then there's this part of their life. And I'm not that person. So I think I was just open to learning something new or shifting how I was thinking so that it would allow me to perceive what was happening in my body differently.
Yeah. So take us into that shift a little bit. You mentioned how much this unlocked for you. Like what was the process like as you started?
Well, you had me really pay attention to when was I feeling pain and when was I not, and also what other things are going on in my life in the moment or the day or the week or around that. And as I started paying attention, I could connect on days if I was really stressed out or sad or upset, that I was more likely to feel pain than if I felt calm and centered. What also shifted for me was giving up worrying that I was going to make something worse, and just to see what would happen as I kept pushing it a little bit further, what actually happened, which was nothing got worse. So then I'm like, I can trust in this. I can trust my body again instead of being afraid.
Mm.
And I think you use those words with me, and I would say them to myself when I was running. Just trust your body, your body. And I would say, I think you said too, I would tell myself, you're okay. Like, you're okay. Look, right in the moment, you are okay. And focus on that, not like, how am I going to feel in 2 days from now?
Yeah. Trusting your body again. I think those are the magic words for me, because what is taken away when you hear from a doctor, oh, Lisa, you have grade 4 osteoarthritis, you're not going to run on
Mm-hmm.
this. It's trust, right? And the things that it's one thing to take our bodies for granted. And I think, we're all guilty of that from time to time, especially if we're on the younger side. But really being able to trust your body again and start to recognize that the stories that you're telling yourself about your body aren't true. And then it kind of opens up this whole world of like, oh, well, if that thing wasn't true, how far can I push this? What else can
Mm-hmm.
I do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just, which is why I reached back out to you, it wasn't just while we were regularly meeting or just something I tried on. It really has become part of me. And it just completely changed how I see things and feel things. And I I want other people to try it. I mean, in my own family, I've tried to talk about this
Mm.
and see if people will open up to even the possibility. And so many people don't want to. They just don't. Um, but wow, it's this past year has been transformational for me to be able to double and triple my running, and feel good, and even have new pain that came along, and to not let that just stop me dead in my tracks and then go see a doctor. I'm just going to see where it goes. If it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and now I can't walk, then I'll go to the doctor. But it was kind of like riding a wave, and now it's okay again. Like, yeah, there's something there, but it's not this big anymore. Now it's just like this big, and
Right.
and I'm okay because I just trusted my body would do the right thing.
Yeah. So what has happened? I'm curious when it comes to just your joy of running, because one of the things that I see with people is when they're unable to really do the activity or sport that they love to a great degree, it's taken away a joyful outlet. But then when you get back to it, it becomes like you have even more gratitude for it and the joy almost
Mhm.
increases. And then that creates this positive spiral of just more positive changes in your life and just more joyous emotions. Take us through a little bit about that of like what has it been like to get back to running on your terms?
I'm so glad you mentioned that because that is the biggest change. Is I look forward to going out now, and I feel even when things start to hurt or whatever, you're feeling like I can't go any farther because your lungs or your legs, depending on the day.
Mm.
Like, but man, I'm so grateful to be out here. I really try and stay in the moment, and that I can't be thinking about other things and also thinking about being grateful at the same time. So I really focus on, I'm so grateful to be out here today. And some days, in honor of you, I don't even wear my watch because, as you know, I'm so focused on did I run a little faster today? And I don't want every run to be about data. And we talked about it. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
so data focused about everything. But I
Mhm.
want it to just be like, wow, that was just fun. And I go and visit some horses along the way, um, and it's okay that I can stop and pet some horses. I don't have to, you know, run a PR that day. So yes, there's a lot more joy and
Mhm.
gratitude that I am okay and I can do this, and I'm
Yeah.
going to be doing it 5 years from now and 10 years from now. I don't have to just um, get old and stop moving around.
Yeah. I still remember that when I'll think of you sometimes if I'll be on a bike ride or sometimes a run and I'll see animals and I'll think of you because I think that's one of the aspects of joy that I heard from you is like just being able to go and yeah, pet the horses or say hi to whatever animals are
Yes.
on the trail. And all of that can be taken away when we are so hyper focused on Strava or PRs or
Yes.
and it can be a tricky balance. I'm curious, like uh, how has the way in which you viewed your body in general has that evolved as a result of getting exposed to this work? Because we've been talking a little bit about kind of the idea of getting older and wear and tear and kind of the body breaking down. Is the way in which you've kind of seen your body not just as it pertains to running, but overall has that changed through this journey?
Yes. And, when we first were working together, you had sent me some really good stories and examples of people that are, even dealing with more serious things or had deconditioned by far further or were older. And it helped me a lot to listen to those stories, but also to have more confidence in just my body in general, not just its ability to run, but in its strength and in its ability to recover, and and to continue to change, and not in bad, negative ways, but to also improve in other ways. And yeah, your skin is going to change, and there's just stuff you can't do anything about, but there's so much we can do things about, and also to believe in it. And I think that's one thing that our culture really, our culture in the United States, I don't think it's the same everywhere, but that as you age, it's just this foregone conclusion that you're weak and frail. And I just don't believe that. And um, I, so yes, that fear of physical changes is not way at the top for me anymore, because I don't feel it now in the way that I was. So
Yeah. Beautiful. And when it comes to your running goals, I'm curious how those evolved, because I know we talked about a year ago and you're like, I feel as if I could run a marathon if I wanted to. And that was kind of on the cards, and we haven't
mhm.
spoken about that until then. Like, how are you feeling toward competitions or getting back into running a marathon?
So I'm going to give it a whirl, not a marathon, but this winter I'm going to do a half marathon. It's one I used to do in the past that I really loved. So I'm going to do that. And my goal now is to always be in half marathon shape.
Mm,
And I think I'm there now with
mm,
mileage that I'm putting in and just the gym and stuff. But I really think that I would like to, instead of doing a marathon in the city, I keep thinking now about doing like a 50-mile trail, because that's a combo of, hiking and running. And I'm like, I think I could do
mm,
that. My fear with doing the marathon, I will be honest, my fear with doing another marathon is it's really hard. Although I think I'm closer to being able to do it, to let go of what I did before, and then
mm,
being in the midst of that again, and knowing you're going to be like an hour off your time. So,
mm.
and I don't want to take away from the fun of it. So I thought maybe if I do something completely different, um,
Yeah.
and in a different setting, but that still, I really do miss being part of that community and the vibe, when you're at an event the day before and the day of. I miss that a lot. So, yeah.
Mm.
So I'll start with a half, which I never even thought I would do again, and and then see how that goes, and then plan for the next thing. But just to do it, to participate, I'm not going to go in trying to place in my age group. Although I
Mm.
might do it, who knows?
You might. And that's
Right.
what I found from people is, if they let joy be their North Star, usually you end up with better results than if you're just nose to the grindstone. But
Yep.
what I love about what you just shared, Lisa, is really continuing to make it on your terms, right? Because I think there is, being part of the community is amazing, and it can bring these pressures of, okay, I need to be faster than I was before, or faster than this person. And all of it creates pressure, and all of it, usually it can be helpful and stimulating, but it can also rob us of joy. And so I love how you're thinking about this from a perspective of, like, what is really right for me in this moment, as opposed to what I should be doing or comparing myself to what I did in the past.
And you're so right, Alec. And I think maybe if I had known you a long time ago, I was not running with any kind of joy when I was really running at that higher level. And although, as I mentioned, it was a huge part of my identity and I loved to run, but it was, how can I make it harder? How can I run more? It was all about time. People would ask me, how was that marathon? And I'm like, I could be running in a tunnel because I don't see anything that's going on. I'm just, and what if I had this experience now, back then, I probably would have been even faster. And maybe my knee would have never blown up. Who knows? But um, I
I
agree with you. I think joy has to be part of it.
Yeah. I've thought the same thing as well. Like with my racing career, it's like, man, if I only knew these tools and techniques before, I would have performed so much better. Um, so as we start to finish up here, I'm curious. Um, One of the things that I'd like to share with people is the idea that these tools can be applied not just to get back to activity or help resolve symptoms, but can be applied to the rest of your life as well. And you mentioned how the past year has been transformational, and even before when we were chatting, you were saying how you'll start your days with a meditation as opposed to just getting right into emails. And take us through just kind of a little bit of the other shifts that you've seen or you've made in your life, kind of in conjunction with this alignment with running and the transformation.
I mean, in so many ways that I really give you credit for and the work that we did, that you opened me up to. And some of them seem small, but they're so huge when you do them day to day. For instance, I really pay attention when I'm reacting and not responding so that I consciously don't want to be react. If I know I'm going to go into a situation where I'm already kind of hyped up and it's going to be very tense, to do a little meditation, even if it's for 30 seconds of taking, centering and taking some deep breaths and not reacting and just listening and responding. That's huge day to day. And starting out with 10 minutes of meditating and then reading instead of just going full on into work at 5 o'clock in the morning. Also, I mentioned to you too, I'm giving myself the time to go and run for an hour and a half in the morning if that's what I have decided to do, and not feel guilty about that, because I'm going to get the same amount of work done anyway. And I would have just filled up that time with probably answering emails or scrolling through some dumb stuff on my phone. And so being more present and mindful in my time during the day. And also, you mentioned gratitude. I really circle back to gratitude in my day multiple times, because we only get this one day. We don't know what's coming next, and how do I want to live it today. And I feel like you really helped me to like downshift and not just think about striving all the time, but how can you still be who you are, but also experience more joy and confidence. And I got that from our work together.
Beautiful. And I appreciate you saying all that. And, the credit goes to you of doing, like, actually making these changes, right? It's one thing to talk about them. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to meditate in the mornings, or I'm going to give myself this self-care time to run, but to actually do it and do it consistently. And that's another thing. And I think it's so beautiful, the effects that you're able to see as a result of that, not just in running, but in your day-to-day life. And yeah, when you hopped on, I think the word you used is like, I'm just so much calmer than I used to. So that's a lot of what this work entails, that we don't necessarily realize it until we get into it. So,
well, and I mean, I think, like, I'm the person that has read 100 books on something, or sometimes I buy the same book twice,
right.
And it's one thing to read all of that, and I always am like, oh, I'm going to miss out on some information somewhere, but it's a completely different experience to actually work with somebody on this rather than reading, which is, of course, helpful, but it's definitely different going through. And you pushed me, and so that's what made the difference. I would not have gotten to where I'm at now reading books. I'll just say.
Good call out. Good call out. The last question I have is, if there's somebody watching this right now who is in the middle of their symptoms, their struggle. Maybe they've been told by a doctor that they can't do their favorite activity again, and they're looking for hope or inspiration. Like, what would you tell them? What would you tell that person?
If you know it's something chronic like arthritis or a disc in your back, that trust your body, just keep incrementally chipping away at it, and just keep trying a little bit, and don't panic. Don't panic if you feel something. Just kind of let it come into your mind and let it go out. And just see over time how you feel. And things might come up and you back off a little, but you can go back to it and nothing bad is going to happen. But you have to keep trying and believing that you're okay. And say to yourself, I right now, like, check in the moment and that you're okay, and believe that you're okay too.
Well said. Trust and belief.
Mm-hmm.
It comes down to. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for sharing your story with everybody. I appreciate it. I'm sure everybody who is going to watch this appreciates it as well. And best of luck on the journey. Keep in touch with us.
Thank you. I will.
Marathon goes and the training, and
I will.
yeah, I'm just really looking forward to seeing how this journey continues to unfold beautifully for you.
Well, thank you for everything, Alec. You really turned things around for me. I can't say enough. So it's been life-changing.
It's a deep pleasure of mine to have worked with you. It's great to have an amazing. So, excellent.
Thank you.
All right, Lisa. Take care, and take care, everybody.
Okay.
See you again next time.
Right.